The text alert from the bank woke me at 7 a.m. Fraud alert. A transaction of $10,000 has been processed from your checking. Was this you? I laughed, annoyed. Another false alarm. The bank's fraud detection was oversensitive last month. They'd flagged a legitimate purchase at Best Buy. I tapped no without even sitting up, then rolled over to grab more sleep. My phone immediately rang. Jesus Christ, I muttered, fumbling for it. The screen showed, First National Fraud Debt. Mr. Harris? A stern voice. Female. No nonsense. Yeah, this is Marcus Harris. I sat up, rubbing my eyes. Through my bedroom window, early morning light cut across the hardwood floors of my studio apartment. This is Sharon Kozlowski from First National's Fraud Department. We're flagging a withdrawal made at 3:04 a.m. from the ATM at 5th and Main Street. Can you confirm your whereabouts at that time? I glanced at my alarm clock. 7:14. I'd gone to bed at 11. I was asleep, I said, my voice still thick. Right here, in my apartment. I live alone. That wasn't me. There was a pause. I could hear keyboard clicking. Mr. Harris, the withdrawal was made using your correct PIN number. We can't dispute PIN transactions. Our policy is... Wait, hold on. I stood up, suddenly awake. You're saying someone used my actual PIN? At 3 in the morning? Yes, sir. The transaction was approved. $10,000 withdrawn in $100 bills. My stomach dropped. That's my rent money. That's everything I have for the next 2 months. You need to reverse this. Sir, if the correct PIN was used, we have to assume it was an authorized... It wasn't authorized. I was asleep. Someone must have. I trailed off. Stolen my card? Known my PIN? Please, lock the card immediately. I'm filing a police report. Another pause. Sharon's voice turned skeptical, almost accusatory. Mr. Harris, are you certain you weren't at that ATM? Perhaps you'd had something to drink and don't remember. I'm sure, I snapped. I don't drink. I was asleep. Alone. Lock. The card. I hung up before she could respond and stood there, my heart hammering. $10,000. Gone. At 3 in the morning. I walked to my desk, a cheap IKEA thing pressed against the window overlooking the street, where I always keep my wallet. Brown leather, worn at the edges. A gift from my father before he died. My wallet was there, but my debit card wasn't in it. It was sitting next to the wallet on the polished wood surface, glinting in the morning light like it was mocking me. My blood went cold. I live alone. I lock my door every night. Deadbolt, chain, the works. I set the alarm. I'm paranoid about security. Have been since someone broke into my car last year. Nobody has a key to this place except me and the building superintendent, who's 70 years old and can barely climb stairs. My hands were shaking as I pulled up my laptop and opened the app for the cheap security camera I keep in the corner of my living room. I'd installed it 6 months ago after a string of break-ins in the neighborhood. It points toward the front door, but it catches most of the apartment, the living area, the kitchen alcove, and the corner of my bed. I scrubbed back to 2:50 a.m. The footage was grainy, lit only by the streetlight coming through my window. There I was, a dark shape in my bed, completely still, asleep. The timestamp ticked forward. 2:51分, 2:55分, Sandian. At 3:01 a.m., my body sat up, but it wasn't a normal movement. It wasn't how you sit up when you hear a noise or need to use the bathroom. It was stiff, mechanical, like someone had pulled my spine upright with a string. My head didn't move. My arms stayed at my sides. I watched, horror crawling up my throat. As I stood up, my eyes were open. I could see them, barely, in the dim light. Open but completely blank, glassy, staring straight ahead at nothing. I walked to the desk. The movements were wooden, purposeful but wrong. I opened my wallet with slow, deliberate fingers. I took out the debit card. I walked to the front door. The camera angle couldn't show the door itself, but I watched my own shadow as I disarmed the alarm. I could hear the faint beep in the footage. I put on my shoes. No socks. I opened the door and walked out, leaving it slightly ajar. The timestamp read 3:02 a.m. I scrubbed forward, my hands slick with sweat. At 3:09 a.m., I returned. Same mechanical walk. I went directly to the desk. I placed the card on the surface next to the wallet, not in it, next to it. Then I walked back to the bed, lay down in the exact same position, and went completely still. The Marcus Harris on the screen slept peacefully for the rest of the night. I had no memory of it, not even a flicker, not a dream, not a hazy recollection, nothing. It was a complete blackout. I watched the footage 3 more times, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. That was me, my body, my face, moving through my apartment like a ghost, like something remote controlled. I stumbled to the bathroom and threw up. When I was finished, I sat on the cold tile floor, my back against the bathtub, trying to breathe, trying to think. There were only a few explanations, and all of them were terrifying. I was losing my mind. Early onset schizophrenia, a brain tumor, something neurological that was making me black out and perform complex tasks. Someone had drugged me, but I'd eaten dinner at home, alone, frozen pizza, nothing suspicious. I was sleepwalking. But sleepwalkers don't disarm alarm systems and use ATM pins. I forced myself to stand and walked back to the desk. I stared at the debit card like it was a venomous snake, and then I saw the bottle next to it. My prescription, Zolpidem, 10 milligrams, generic Ambien. My doctor had prescribed it 2 weeks ago. I'd been having crushing insomnia, work stress, a project deadline that was killing me, lying awake until 4 or 5 in the morning every night. Dr. Patel had been sympathetic. It's a miracle drug, he'd said, scribbling the prescription. You'll sleep like the dead. Just don't mix it with alcohol or operate heavy machinery, and take it right before bed. I'd been taking it every night for 13 days. I'd been sleeping like the dead, or so I thought. I grabbed my phone and searched Zolpidem side effects, sleepwalking. The results made my stomach turn. Ambien linked to sleep driving and complex sleep behaviors. FDA warning. Zolpidem may cause sleepwalking, sleep eating, and memory loss. Man on Ambien drives 30 miles, has no memory of trip. I clicked on the third link. It was a news article from 2019. A man in Ohio had taken Ambien, gotten in his car while asleep, driven to a gas station, withdrawn money from an ATM, bought cigarettes, and driven home. He woke up the next morning with cigarettes on his kitchen counter and no memory of leaving his house. The security footage showed him walking and talking normally, even having a brief conversation with the cashier. The article quoted a neurologist. Zolpidem can create a state where the brain's motor functions are active, but the memory-forming regions are suppressed. The person appears awake and can perform complex tasks, but they're essentially in a parasomnic state. They have no conscious awareness and will have no memory of their actions. My hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped my phone. That was me. Last night, I'd taken my Ambien at 10:45 p.m., brushed my teeth, gone to bed, and then my body had woken up without me. It had received some kind of stimulus, and gone to the ATM, withdrawn $10,000. Why? I looked around my apartment with new eyes, my skin crawling. What else had I done in these blackouts? What else had my other self been up to while I slept? I started searching. I went through my apartment like a detective at a crime scene, looking for anything out of place, anything I didn't recognize. My hands were still shaking. I felt like I was going insane. The kitchen, normal. Dishes in the sink from last night's dinner. The refrigerator had the same contents I remembered. No mysterious purchases. The bathroom, my toothbrush, my razor, my soap. The medicine cabinet held the usual stuff. Ibuprofen, allergy medication, the bottle of Zolpidem with 13 pills left. I went back to the desk and started opening drawers. The top drawer, pens, paper clips, a tangle of charging cables. Normal. The second drawer, old tax documents, my lease, utility bills. I started to close it, then stopped. There was something underneath the stack of papers, something that didn't belong. A phone, a cheap flip phone, the kind you buy at a gas station with prepaid minutes. A burner. I'd never seen it before in my life. I picked it up with trembling fingers. It was turned off. I pressed the power button and waited while it booted up, my heart hammering. The lock screen appeared. Enter PIN. I stared at it. 4 digits. I tried my birthday. 0317. Incorrect. I tried my apartment number. 412B. That wasn't 4 digits. I tried just the numbers. 4122. Incorrect. My debit PIN? The one I'd used at the ATM thousands of times? The one my other self had used at 3 in the morning? I hesitated, then typed it in. 7639. The phone unlocked. There was only one contact saved. No name, just Milo. And there were messages. Lots of them. I scrolled to the beginning, my hands so slick with sweat I almost dropped the phone. The first message was from 3 weeks ago, before I'd even started taking the Ambien. Me, I'm in. When's the game? Milo. Friday, 9 p.m. Warehouse, on Dock Street. Bring 2K. Me, I'll be there. I had no memory of this. None. I stared at the words like they were written in a foreign language. The messages continued, back and forth, short, clipped. The tone was casual, like we were friends. Me, lost 1,500 last night. Brutal. Milo, cards weren't falling your way. You want in Friday? Emmy, yeah, I'll bring 3K this time. My stomach was churning. Gambling? I didn't gamble. I'd never been to a casino in my life. My father had been a gambler, had lost everything when I was a kid. Our house, our savings, my college fund. I'd sworn I'd never touch cards or dice or sports betting. It was a hard line for me, but here was the evidence. In my own handwriting, or my own typing at least. I scrolled faster, my panic rising. The messages got more desperate. M.E. I just need one more week. I swear I'm good for it. Milo, you had a week. You owe $8,000 now. Interest is 20% per week. Me, please. My stocks are about to hit. I'll have the money. Milo, your stocks are crap. You've been saying that for 2 weeks. You have 24 hours. Me, I don't have it. Give me till Friday. Milo, you don't get till Friday. You get till tomorrow night. $10,000 now, with interest. Or we come to your door. And then the last message from Milo, received at 2:47 a.m., just 14 minutes before my other self had sat up in bed. Milo, the debt is $10,000. If you're not at the 5th and Main ATM in the next 20 minutes, we come to your door. We're already in the neighborhood. I looked at the clock on the burner phone, the timestamp on that message, 2:47 a.m. The withdrawal at the ATM, 3:04 a.m., 17 minutes. I sat down hard, my legs giving out. I wasn't sleepwalking. I wasn't crazy. My medicated self, the version of me that existed in the Zolpidem-fueled blackout, had woken up at 2:47 a.m., had checked this phone, had read the death threat, and had moved like an automaton to save my life. My conscious, awake self had been blissfully asleep, dreaming of nothing, while my other, hidden self had paid a gambling debt I didn't even know I had. I was alone. Completely alone. I was a stranger in my own body, paying for the sins of a man I'd never even met. I sat at my desk for 20 minutes, just staring at the burner phone, trying to process what I'd discovered. My brain felt like it was shorting out, unable to reconcile the evidence with my complete lack of memory. I'd been living 2 lives, one conscious, one unconscious, one controlled, one reckless. And the unconscious one had been making decisions that could get me killed. I needed to understand the full scope. I needed to know what else I'd done. I pulled up the security camera app on my laptop and started scrubbing through the footage from the past 2 weeks, every night since I'd started taking Ambien. The first 3 nights, nothing. I'd taken the pill, gone to bed, slept through till morning without moving. The medication was working as intended. The 4th night, 11:17 p.m., I sat up. The same mechanical movement, the same blank stare. I walked to my desk, opened the laptop, typed something. The angle didn't let me see the screen. After 12 minutes, I closed the laptop and went back to bed. The 5th night, nothing. The 6th night, 1:03 a.m., I sat up. This time, I got dressed, jeans, a hoodie, shoes. I disarmed the alarm and left the apartment. The timestamp showed I returned at 2:39 a.m., nearly 90 minutes. Where had I gone? I kept scrubbing. The pattern was irregular. Some nights, nothing happened. Other nights, I would wake up and perform tasks using the laptop, making phone calls. I could see myself holding a phone to my ear, though I couldn't hear the conversation in the silent footage. Even cooking food at 3 in the morning. On the 10th night, I had left the apartment again. Returned at 4:17 a.m. Last night was the 3rd time I had left. I grabbed the burner phone again and scrolled through the messages more carefully, matching them to the dates of the video footage. The first message to Milo, 3 weeks ago, before the Ambien. But had I been taking something else? I checked my medicine cabinet again. Nothing. Just the usual over-the-counter stuff. Wait. I went back further in my browser history on my laptop. 3 weeks ago, I'd been researching sleep aids because my insomnia was getting bad. I'd tried melatonin, didn't work. Then I'd found an article about antihistamines for sleep. Diphenhydramine, Benadryl. I checked the bathroom trash can. There, at the bottom, was an empty box of generic Benadryl. I'd bought it at CVS, taken it for a few nights, but it had made me groggy the next day without really helping me sleep. Or had it helped me sleep? Had it just helped my other self wake up? I went back to my laptop and checked my browser history more carefully. 3 weeks ago, the night of that first message to Milo, I'd been up until 2 a.m., researching, stressed about work. I'd taken 2 Benadryl at 1:30 a.m., and at 3:15 a.m., according to my credit card statement, I pulled it up on my phone. I'd made a purchase at a convenience store 6 blocks away, $47.83. I had no memory of it. I felt like I was going to be sick again. I had to find out what happened at these games. I had to understand understand who Milo was, what I'd been doing, how deep this went. I scrolled through the messages again, looking for details. The games were mentioned 5 times, always on Fridays, always at the warehouse on Dock Street. The last one had been 5 days ago. The next one, according to the pattern, would be tonight. I checked the last message from Milo again. Nothing since the thread at 2:47 a.m. Did Milo know the debt was paid? Had my other self communicated with him somehow? I had to know. I typed a message, my fingers hovering over the keys. What would my other self say? How did he talk to this person? Me. Money's paid. We good? I hit send and waited, my heart racing. 3 minutes later, the phone buzzed. Milo, you cut it close. Yeah, we're good. You coming tonight? I stared at the message. My other self had established a relationship with these people, a gambling habit, debt, and apparently trust, or at least enough of it that Milo was inviting me back. M.E. Maybe. Same place? Milo. Same place. 9 p.m. Bring whatever you want to lose. I set the phone down, my mind racing. I could go. I could find out who Milo was, see these people face to face, understand what I'd gotten myself into. But that meant confronting a world my other self had built, a world I had no memory of navigating. Or I could stop taking the Ambien, destroy the burner phone, disappear from this underground gambling scene and hope they forgot about me. But $10,000 was gone. My rent money, my grocery money, everything I'd saved for emergencies. And I didn't even know if there were other debts, other obligations my other self had created. I had to go. I spent the day preparing. I called in sick to work. I was a software developer for a financial tech company, and thankfully my manager didn't ask questions. I went to the bank in person and filed a fraud report, even though Sharon from the fraud department gave me skeptical looks the entire time. I told her my card had been stolen. I didn't mention the sleepwalking. We'll investigate, she said, her tone making it clear she didn't believe me. But if the PIN was used correctly, it's very difficult to prove fraud. You might want to consider filing a police report. I didn't. What would I tell them? That I'd robbed myself? Instead, I went home and started researching. I needed to understand what I was walking into. Underground poker games, high-stakes gambling in warehouse spaces, private residences, back rooms of bars. It was illegal, but common enough that there were forums discussing how to find games, how to vet the organizers, how to avoid getting robbed or cheated. The warnings were dire. Only play with people you trust. Bring a friend. Don't flash cash. Always know your exits. Some of these games are run by organized crime. I felt sick reading it. At 7 p.m., I made a decision. I grabbed my phone, my real phone, not the burner, and texted my friend Jake. Me. Hey, weird question. You free tonight? Jake and I had been friends since college. He was a personal trainer, built like a tank, with a good head on his shoulders. If I was going into a dangerous situation, I wanted someone watching my back. Jake. Yeah, what's up? Me. I need a favor. I'll explain in person. Can you meet me at my place at 8? Jake. Sure. Everything okay? Me. Not really. I'll tell you when you get here. 8. The confession. Jake arrived at 8:15, carrying a duffel bag. When I opened the door, he took one look at me and frowned. Jesus, Marcus, you look like hell. I feel like hell, I said, stepping aside to let him in. He dropped the duffel bag by the door. What's going on? You in trouble? I didn't know where to start, so I just showed him. I pulled up the security footage on my laptop and played the clip from last night. Jake watched in silence, his expression shifting from confusion to alarm. That's you, he said slowly. But you're asleep? It's called a parasomnic state, I said. I've been taking Ambien for insomnia. Turns out it can make you do complex tasks while you're unconscious. Sleepwalking on steroids. Holy shit. Jake leaned closer to the screen, watching as my other self walked out of the apartment. So you have no memory of this? None. And it gets worse. I showed him the burner phone, the messages, the debt. Jake's face darkened as he read through them. You've been gambling? He said, his voice tight. I don't remember any of it, I said, but apparently, yes. My other self has been going to underground poker games and losing money. A lot of money. Jake set the phone down and looked at me. You need to stop taking that medication. I know. I'm never touching it again. But that doesn't solve the immediate problem. There's a game tonight. I need to go. I need to understand how deep this goes, who these people are, and if there are any other debts I don't know about. Are you insane? Jake said. You can't walk into an illegal gambling den run by people who threaten to kill you. I'm not going alone, I said. That's why I called you. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he sighed, running a hand over his shaved head. You're really doing this? I have to. Fine. But I'm bringing protection. He unzipped the duffel bag. Inside was a collapsible baton, a can of pepper spray, and a heavy Maglite flashlight. I'm not bringing a gun to a poker game, but I'm not going in there unarmed either. I nodded, grateful. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Jake said grimly. Let's just hope we make it out of there in one piece. We took Jake's car, a beat-up Honda Civic, and drove to Dock Street at 8:50 p.m. The The area was industrial, full of old warehouses and shipping containers. Most of the buildings looked abandoned. Streetlights were sparse. It was exactly the kind of place you'd expect to find an illegal poker game. "That one," I said, pointing. The warehouse was a squat brick building with boarded-up windows. A single door was visible on the side, illuminated by a weak bulb above it. Jake parked half a block away, keeping the engine running. "You sure about this?" "No," I admitted, "but I need to know." We got out and walked toward the warehouse. As we approached, the door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black leather jacket and jeans. He had a goatee and cold, dark eyes. "Marcus," he said. His voice was familiar, though I had no memory of ever hearing it before. "Milo?" I guessed. He nodded, then looked at Jake. "Who's your friend?" "This is Jake," I said quickly. "He's cool." Milo studied Jake for a moment, then shrugged. "Whatever. You're both late. Game started 10 minutes ago." He turned and walked back inside, leaving the door open. Jake and I exchanged a glance, then followed. Inside, the warehouse was dimly lit by overhead industrial lights. The space had been converted into a makeshift casino, several poker tables set up in the center, a makeshift bar in the corner, and a dozen or so people milling around. Some were playing cards, others watching. Everyone looked hard, like they'd lived rough lives. Milo led us to a table where 5 men were already seated, cards in hand. Chips were stacked in front of them, red, blue, and black. "This is Marcus," Milo said to the table, "and his buddy Jake." One of the men, older, with a gray beard and a scar across his cheek, looked up. "Marcus, heard you paid up. Didn't think we'd see you again." "I'm here," I said, trying to sound confident. "You playing?" the man asked. I hesitated. I didn't know how to play poker, not well anyway, but I needed information, and I needed to seem like I belonged. "Yeah," I said. "I'm in." I sat down at the table, Jake standing behind me like a bodyguard. Milo took a seat across from me, and the dealer, a thin man with nervous energy, started shuffling the cards. "Blinds are 50 and 100, the dealer said. "You want chips, Marcus?" I reached into my pocket and pulled out the $500 in cash I'd withdrawn from my account earlier. It was all I had left. "500, I said, pushing the bills forward. The dealer counted it and gave me a stack of chips. The game began. I don't remember much about the first few hands. My mind was racing, trying to piece together who these people were and what my other self had been doing here. I folded most hands, losing chips slowly but steadily. Milo was watching me carefully, his eyes sharp. "You're playing different tonight," he said after the 4th hand. "Different how?" I asked, my heart skipping, cautious. "Usually you're aggressive as hell. Go big or go home. That's your motto." I forced a laugh. "Just being smart tonight." "Smart doesn't win poker," the man with the scar said. "Balls do." Another hand. I got pocket 7s and decided to play it, raising to 300. 2 players folded, but Milo and the scarred man called. The flop came. 7 of hearts, king of clubs, 2 of diamonds. I had 3 of a kind, a strong hand, but I had no idea how to play it. I bet 500 half my remaining chips. Milo folded. The scarred man called. The turn, 9 of spades. I pushed all in. The scarred man studied me, then folded with a grunt. I raked in the pot, my hands shaking. "There he is," Milo said, grinning. "There's the Marcus I know." I forced a smile, but inside I was panicking. How much had my other self played here? How well did these people know me? The game continued for another hour. I won some hands, lost others. By 10:30 p.m., I was up $300. Not much, but enough to stay in the game. Then Milo leaned back in his chair and said, "So, Marcus, you gonna tell us what's really going on?" I froze. "What do you mean? You've been acting weird all night. You don't remember anyone's name. You're playing like a tourist, and you brought a bodyguard." He nodded at Jake. "You don't trust us anymore?" The table went quiet. Everyone was looking at me. Jake's hand moved toward the baton in his jacket, but I shook my head slightly, stopping him. "I've been having some memory issues," I said carefully. "Doctor thinks it might be stress-related. I wanted to come tonight to remind myself why I love this game." Milo's eyes narrowed. "Memory issues?" "Yeah, blackout sometimes. It's temporary. I'm getting it checked out." The scarred man laughed, a harsh sound. "You're telling me you don't remember losing $8,000 to us last month?" "I remember," I lied. "I'm just foggy on the details." Milo leaned forward, his gaze intense. "You're full of shit, Marcus. But I don't care. You paid your debt. You're here. Just don't waste our time." He dealt the next hand. 11, the revelation. At 11:15 p.m., during a break in the game, I excused myself to use the bathroom. Jake followed me, and once we were alone in the grimy restroom, he grabbed my arm. "We need to leave," he hissed. "These guys are dangerous. You got your information, you were here, you gambled, you lost money. Now, let's go." "Not yet," I said. "I need to know more. There has to be a record, some way to find out exactly how much I've lost, what other debts I might have. Marcus, just give me another 30 minutes, please." Jake exhaled sharply, then nodded. 30 minutes. then were gone. We returned to the table. The game resumed, but I was barely paying attention. I was watching Milo, studying the way he interacted with the other players, looking for clues. Then, during a lull, the scarred man said something that made my blood freeze. "Hey, Marcus, you still seeing that girl? The one from the coffee shop?" I blinked. "What?" "The redhead. You brought her here a few weeks ago. Talked about her all night." He grinned. "Said you were in love." My mind reeled. I didn't have a girlfriend. I hadn't been on a date in 6 months. Yeah, I said, scrambling. "We're still seeing each other." "Good for you," the man said, turning back to his cards. But I couldn't focus. My other self had a girlfriend? Someone I'd never met? Never remembered? How was that even possible? And then it hit me. The messages. The burner phone. My other self had been living an entire life, gambling, socializing, even dating, and I knew nothing about it. I thought about the Ambien, the blackouts, the parasomnic state. Was it possible that my other self wasn't just performing automatic tasks? Was he conscious in some way, making decisions, forming relationships, creating a separate identity? The idea was horrifying. At 11:45 p.m., I cashed out my chips. I'd ended the night up $200 and told Milo I was leaving. "See you next week," he asked. "Maybe," I said. Jake and I walked out of the warehouse and didn't speak until we were back in his car. "That was insane," Jake said, starting the engine. "Those people are criminals, Marcus. You need to stay away from them." "I know," I said, but my mind was elsewhere. A girlfriend, a whole other life. I had to find her. 12. The search. Over the next 2 days, I became obsessed. I stopped going to work. I called in sick again, claiming food poisoning. I barely slept. I spent every waking moment trying to piece together the life my other self had been living. I started with the burner phone. I went through every message, every call log, looking for clues. Most of it was related to the gambling messages to Milo, a few other contacts who seemed to be players at the games. But there was one number that appeared frequently, saved as R. I called it. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. A woman's voice. "Hey, it's Riley. Leave a message." Riley, the redhead from the coffee shop? I didn't leave a message. Instead, I started looking through my credit card statements, my bank records, trying to find purchases or locations that might lead me to her. 3 weeks ago, a charge at a coffee shop called The Daily Grind, 6 blocks from my apartment. I'd been there a few times. It was a small place, cozy, with good espresso, but I didn't remember going there recently. I put on my jacket and walked over. The barista behind the counter was a young guy with a man bun and tattoos. I showed him a photo of myself on my phone. "Do you recognize me?" I asked. He squinted at the photo, then at my face. "Yeah, dude, you're a regular. You come in like 3 times a week." Do I ever come in with anyone? A woman, maybe? Red hair? His face lit up. "Oh yeah, Riley. You two are always here together. Cute couple." My heart sank. "Do you know her last name or where she lives?" "Nah, man. We just make small talk. She's super nice, though. Haven't seen her in a few days, actually." I thanked him and left, my mind spinning. Riley, my other self, had been dating her, bringing her to a coffee shop I barely remembered visiting. How much of my life had I lost to these blackouts? I went back to my apartment and searched through my belongings more carefully. I found a receipt from the Daily Grind, dated 2 weeks ago, for 2 coffees and a croissant. I found a movie ticket stub in my jacket pocket, an action movie I had no memory of seeing. And then, in my desk drawer, I found a photograph. It was a selfie, printed on glossy paper. Me and a woman. She had red hair, green eyes, and a bright smile. Her arm was around my shoulders. We were sitting in a park, sunlight streaming through the trees behind us. I stared at the photo, my hands trembling. I didn't know her. I'd never seen her before in my life, but apparently I loved her. 13. The message. I decided to call Riley's number again. This time, I left a message. "Hi, Riley, this is Marcus Harris. I don't know if you remember me, but we've been seeing each other, I think. I've been having some medical issues, memory problems, and I just wanted to talk to you. If you get this, please call me back. It's important." I hung up, feeling like an idiot. How do you explain to someone that you don't remember them? 2 hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" I answered, my heart racing. "Marcus?" It was her. Riley. Her voice was soft, confused. "Are you okay? Your message was weird." "I'm fine," I said quickly. "Well, not fine. I need to talk to you. Can we meet somewhere? In person?" There was a pause. "Marcus, we just saw each other last night. Are you sure you're okay?" My stomach dropped. "Last night?" "Yeah, at the park. You brought wine. We talked for like 2 hours. You seemed fine then." I closed my eyes. Last night, I'd taken Ambien at 11 p.m. and gone to bed. But according to my security camera, I'd checked the footage this morning. I had left the apartment at 9:30 p.m. and returned at 12:15 a.m. "Riley," I said carefully, "I need to explain something. It's going to sound crazy, but please hear me out." "Okay. I've been taking medication for insomnia. It's called Ambien. Ambien, and it's been causing me to do things while I'm asleep. Complex things. Talking to people, going places, even forming relationships, but I have no memory of any of it. Silence. Riley? You're saying you don't remember me? Her voice cracked. We've been seeing each other for 3 weeks, Marcus. We've been on 6 dates. You told me you loved me. Tears welled in my eyes. I'm so sorry. I don't remember any of it, but I need to meet you. I need to understand what's been happening. Please. Another pause. Then, the daily grind. Tomorrow morning at 10. I'll be there. She hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling like I was falling apart. 14. The meeting. I didn't take Ambien that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, terrified of what might happen if I fell asleep. But I didn't sleepwalk. I didn't black out. I just lay there, exhausted, until dawn. At 9:50 a.m., I walked into the daily grind. Riley was already there, sitting at a corner table, cradling a coffee cup. She was even more beautiful than in the photograph, red hair pulled back in a ponytail, green eyes, sharp and wary. She looked up as I approached, and her expression was hard to read. Hurt, confused, angry. "Hi," I said, sitting down across from her. "Hi," she said. Her voice was cold. "Thank you for meeting me." She didn't respond, just stared at me. "I know this sounds insane," I began, "but everything I told you on the phone is true. I've been taking Ambien, and it's been causing me to have these blackouts. I've been doing things I have no memory of, including meeting you." "You don't remember me at all?" she asked, her voice tight. I shook my head. "I'm so sorry." Her eyes filled with tears. "You told me you'd been waiting your whole life to meet someone like me. You said I made you feel alive, and now you're telling me—" "What? That it was all some kind of drug-induced hallucination?" "It wasn't a hallucination," I said desperately. "I was really there. My body was there. I wasn't conscious. It's like I have this other version of myself, and he's been living a life I don't know about. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard." "I know, but it's true." She wiped her eyes, her jaw tight. "Prove it." "What?" "Prove it. Show me that you don't remember." I hesitated. I don't know how to prove a negative." "Tell me something we talked about," she said. "Anything. Where we went on our first date. What movie we saw. What I told you about my family." I opened my mouth, then closed it. I had nothing. "I can't," I whispered. She stood up abruptly, grabbing her coffee. "I don't know if you're lying, or if you really are having some kind of medical crisis, but I can't do this. I can't be with someone who doesn't even know who I am. Riley, please, don't contact me again, Marcus." She walked out, leaving me sitting alone at the table. I wanted to go after her, to explain, to beg her to understand. But what could I say? She was right. I didn't know her. I couldn't remember her. And my other self had broken her heart. I sat there for a long time, staring at the empty seat across from me, feeling like I'd lost something I never even had. 15. The solution. I went home and made a decision. I was done with Ambien, done with blackouts, done with living 2 lives. I flushed the rest of the pills down the toilet and threw the bottle in the trash. Then I smashed the burner phone with a hammer and tossed the pieces into a dumpster 3 blocks away. I wasn't going back to that warehouse. I wasn't going back to that life. But the damage was already done. $10,000 gone, a relationship destroyed, and who knew what other chaos my other self had created. Over the next week, I tried to piece together the remnants of my double life. I checked my credit cards, my bank statements, my emails. There were no other major debts, thankfully. No more burner phones. Just the gambling, the coffee dates, and the girl I couldn't remember. The insomnia came back. I lay awake at night, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. But I didn't take pills. I didn't risk another blackout. Eventually, I went back to work. My manager was concerned I'd been acting strange, missing days, seeming distracted. But I told him I'd had a medical issue that was now resolved. He didn't push. I tried to move on, but I couldn't stop thinking about Riley, about the version of me she'd known, the confident, alive version who loved poker and took risks and told a woman he barely knew that she made him feel alive. That wasn't me, not the conscious me, but maybe it should have been. 3 weeks later, the insomnia was unbearable. I was averaging 3 hours of sleep a night, dragging through my days like a zombie. My work was suffering. My health was suffering. I went back to Dr. Patel. The Ambien caused serious side effects, I told him. Sleepwalking, memory loss. I can't take it anymore. He frowned, reviewing my chart. That's very unusual. Zolpidem is generally safe when taken correctly. Were you mixing it with alcohol? No. Taking it too late? Not getting a full 8 hours of sleep? No. I followed the instructions exactly. he sighed. Well, there are other options. We can try a different class of medication, trazodone, for example. It's an antidepressant that's also used for sleep. Much lower risk of parasomnic behaviors. I hesitated. Are you sure? Nothing's without risk, he admitted. But trazodone is generally well tolerated. And you need sleep, Marcus. You look terrible. He wasn't wrong. I'd lost weight. My eyes were sunken. I felt like I was losing my mind. Okay, I said. Let's try it. He wrote the prescription. I filled it that same day. That night, I took the first dose of trazodone and went to bed. I slept for 9 hours. Deep, dreamless sleep. When I woke, I felt better than I had in weeks. And according to the security camera footage, I hadn't moved all night. X17. The call. A month passed. My life began to stabilize. I was sleeping regularly, working productively, even going to the gym again. The double life felt like a bad dream, something that had happened to someone else. Then, one Friday night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Marcus? It was Milo. My heart stopped. How did you get this number? Relax. You gave it to me. Don't you remember? Of course I didn't. What do you want? Just checking in. Haven't seen you at the games in a while. Everything okay? I'm done with that, I said firmly. I'm not gambling anymore. Milo's voice was unreadable. That's a shame. You were good. Made the games interesting. I'm done, I repeated. All right, but hey, if you ever change your mind, you know where to find us. He hung up. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking. How had he gotten this number? Had my other self given it to him during one of the blackouts? I checked my call log. There it was, a call to Milo's number, made at 11:37 p.m. on a night 2 weeks ago. A night I'd taken trazodone and thought I'd slept through, but the call had lasted 6 minutes. I felt sick. I pulled up the security camera footage from that night, my heart pounding. At 11:30 p.m., I had sat up. The same mechanical movement, the same blank stare. I had gotten out of bed, walked to the desk, picked up my phone, and made a call. After 6 minutes, I had hung up and gone back to bed. Trazodone wasn't safe. Not for me. I stopped taking all sleep medication after that. The insomnia returned worse than ever. I was barely functional, but I couldn't risk another blackout. I couldn't risk losing control again. One night, after 40 hours without sleep, I sat at my desk, staring at the photo of Riley and my other self. The version of me who was confident, reckless, alive. And I realized something. Maybe my other self wasn't the enemy. Maybe he was just the version of me I'd been too afraid to be, the version who took risks, who fell in love, who didn't overthink every decision. Maybe he wasn't a stranger. Maybe he was me. I picked up my phone and called Riley. She answered after 3 rings. Marcus? Hi, I said. I know you told me not to contact you, but I need to say something. She didn't hang up. I don't remember the time we spent together, I said. But that doesn't mean it wasn't real. You were real. What we had was real. And I'm sorry I hurt you. There was a long silence. Thank you, she said quietly. I want to see you again, I said. Not as the guy you knew, as me, the real me, if you're willing. Another pause. I don't know, Marcus. Just one coffee, I said. That's all I'm asking, she sighed. One coffee. Tomorrow, at the Daily Grind, 10 a.m. I'll be there. She hung up. 19. The beginning. I was at the Daily Grind at 9:50 a.m., just like before. But this time was different. This time, I was awake. Riley arrived at 10:05, looking cautious. Hi, I said, standing. Hi. We sat down, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. I don't know how to do this, I admitted. I don't know how to meet someone I've already met. She smiled faintly. We can start over. Pretend it's the first time. Okay. I extended my hand. Hi, I'm Marcus Harris. She shook it, her grip warm. Riley Chen. Nice to meet you, Riley. Can I buy you a coffee? Sure. We talked for 2 hours. About her job, she was a graphic designer. About my work software development. About her family, her hobbies, her favorite movies. And I told her everything. The Ambien, the blackouts, the gambling, the warehouse, the life I couldn't remember. She listened without judgment, her green eyes steady. That must have been terrifying, she said when I finished. It was. But I'm done with that now. I'm done living 2 lives. I just want one. This one. She nodded slowly. I liked the other Marcus, but I think I could like this one too. We made plans to see each other again. A real date this time. Dinner, a movie, something normal. As I walked home, I felt lighter than I had in months. I'd lost $10,000. I'd lost weeks of my memory. I'd lost a version of myself I'd never even known. But maybe, just maybe, I'd found something better. I never took another sleep aid. I learned to manage the insomnia with exercise, meditation, and therapy. It wasn't easy, but it was better than the alternative. I never went back to the warehouse. Milo called once more, a month later, but I didn't answer. Eventually, the calls stopped. Riley and I kept seeing each other, slowly, cautiously, but genuinely. She told me stories about the other Marcus, the dates we'd been on, the conversations we'd had. I listened, trying to reconcile the stranger she described with the person I knew myself to be. In some ways, he'd been braver than me. In other ways, he'd been reckless. reckless, but he'd been me all along. One night, as Riley and I sat in my apartment watching a movie, she turned to me and said, "Do you ever miss him? The other you?" I thought about it. Sometimes, but I think he's still here. Just awake now. She smiled and rested her head on my shoulder. I never found out how much money the other Marcus had lost at those poker games. I never learned all the details of the life he'd lived while I slept. And maybe that was okay. Some mysteries don't need to be solved. Some lives don't need to be remembered. I was awake now. I was in control. And that was enough. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning while I was at work. Subject: "You still owe." From MK. No other details. Body: Marcus. The $10K you paid was for one debt. You forgot about the other one. $15,000 due by Friday. Don't make me come find you. My hands went numb. I immediately checked my bank accounts. All clear. I checked my credit cards. Nothing unusual. I tore through my apartment when I got home, searching for another burner phone, another hidden life. Nothing. But the email was real, and I had no memory of any other debt. That night, I sat at my desk, staring at the security camera footage from the past 6 months. Every night since I'd stopped taking medication, I'd slept normally. No blackouts, no sleepwalking. But the email insisted, "You forgot about the other one." Was it a scam? A threat? Or had my other self done something I still didn't know about? I called Riley, my voice shaking. "I need to tell you something," I said. "It might not be over." She came over immediately. We sat together, reading the email, trying to make sense of it. "Maybe it's a bluff," she said. Maybe, but I didn't believe that. Somewhere, buried in the gaps of my memory, was another secret, another life, another debt, and I had 3 days to find it or face the consequences. I opened my laptop and started searching. My credit card statements, my bank records, my email archives, and then I saw it. A PayPal transaction from 4 months ago, $500, sent to an account labeled JK Holdings. I didn't recognize it. I clicked on the details. The transaction was part of a Series 8 payments, $500 each, sent weekly. $4,000 total. I searched for JK Holdings online. Nothing. The account was anonymous. But there, in the transaction notes, was a single line of text. Installment 8 of 15, $11,000 remaining. $15,000 paid in installments. I'd made 8 payments, $4,000 before I'd stopped taking sleep medication, and the payments had stopped. Someone wanted the remaining $11,000, and they weren't going to wait. I looked at Riley, my face pale. "I have to go back," I said. "Go back where?" "To the warehouse. To Milo. If anyone knows what this is about, he will." She grabbed my hand. "Marcus, no, it's too dangerous." "I don't have a choice. If I don't figure this out, they'll come for me, and I can't run from a debt I don't even remember." She stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. "I'm coming with you, Riley. I'm coming," she said firmly. "You're not doing this alone." And so, on Friday night, we drove back to Dock Street, back to the warehouse, back to the life I thought I'd left behind. Milo was waiting at the door, arms crossed, his expression grim. "Marcus," he said, "didn't expect to see you again." "I got an email," I said, "about a debt, $15,000. Do you know anything about it?" His eyes narrowed. "That's not my business. That's between you and JK. "Who's JK?" Milo didn't answer. He just stared at me, his face unreadable. "Please," I said, "I need to know." He sighed and glanced back toward the warehouse. "Come inside, but leave your friend in the car." Riley started to protest, but I squeezed her hand. "I'll be fine." I followed Milo inside, my heart pounding. The warehouse was empty tonight. No poker game, no players. Just Milo and me in the dim, echoing space. "JK is Jakob Kresge," Milo said quietly. "He runs the loans. If you borrowed from him, you owe him. Simple as that." "I don't remember borrowing anything," I said. "Doesn't matter. The debt is real. How do I reach him?" Milo pulled out a phone and sent a quick text. Minute later, his phone buzzed. He showed me the screen. "JK, bring him to the boat. Pier 19. Now." Milo pocketed the phone. "You heard him. The boat?" My mouth went dry. "Jakob does business on the water. More private that way." Milo's expression was unreadable. "You want answers? That's where you'll get them." I walked back to the car, my legs unsteady. Riley saw my face and immediately started the engine. "What happened?" "We need to go to Pier 19, I said. "There's someone I need to meet." "Marcus, this is insane." "I know, but I have to do this." She stared at me for a long moment, then put the car in gear. "Fine, but if anything feels wrong, we're leaving. I don't care if they shoot out our tires." We drove in silence to the waterfront. Pier 19 was at the edge of the industrial district, a half-abandoned dock with rotting pilings and rusted cranes silhouetted against the night sky. A single boat was moored there, a mid-sized cabin cruiser, maybe 40 feet long, lights glowing in the windows. A man stood on the dock, smoking a cigarette. He was thin, maybe 50, with slicked-back gray hair and a sharp suit that seemed out of place in this derelict setting. "Marcus Harris," he called as we approached. "That's me. I'm Jakob Kresge. Come aboard. Just you." Riley grabbed my arm. "No way." "It's fine," I said, though my voice was shaking. "Stay here. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, call the police. Marcus." I kissed her forehead quickly, then walked toward the boat before I could lose my nerve. Jacob led me down into the cabin. It was surprisingly luxurious, inside leather seating, polished wood, a small bar in the corner. Another man sat in the shadows, large and silent, a bodyguard. Jacob poured himself a drink and didn't offer me one. "You know why you're here. The 15,000, I said, "but I don't remember borrowing it." "You borrowed it 7 months ago," Jacob said calmly. "You came to me desperate, said you'd lost big at one of Milo's games and needed to cover it before they broke your legs. I gave you 15,000 at 20% interest to be paid back in installments over 15 weeks, 1,000 per week." I did the math quickly. That's more than 15,000 total. 20% interest, Jacob repeated, as if explaining to a child. "You agreed to the terms." "I don't remember any of this." Jacob took a sip of his drink. "That's not my problem. You made 4 payments, $4,000, and then you stopped. The debt is now 11,000, plus penalties for late payment. 14,000 total. I can't pay that. I don't have it." "Then we have a problem." Jacob set his glass down. "I'm a reasonable man, Marcus. I don't enjoy violence, but I can't have people thinking they can borrow from me and just walk away. Bad for business." The bodyguard shifted in the shadows, and I felt a spike of fear. "I'll pay," I said quickly. "I just need time. I was taking medication. It caused blackouts. I didn't know what I was doing. Please, just give me time to figure this out." Jacob studied me for a long moment. "Medication, huh? That's a new one." "It's true. I have documentation from my doctor, medical records. I can prove it." "I don't care about your medical history," Jacob said. "I care about my money." He leaned forward. "Here's what's going to happen. You have 2 weeks to come up with $14,000. If you don't, we're going to start taking payments another way. Your car, your computer, your teeth, whatever we need to make the debt whole. Understood?" I nodded, my throat tight. "Good. Now get off my boat." I stumbled back to the car, my whole body shaking. Riley took one look at me and gunned the engine, speeding away from the pier. "What happened?" she demanded. I told her everything. The loan, the interest, the $14,000 I didn't have. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Marcus, we need to go to the police." "And tell them what? That I borrowed money from a loan shark while sleepwalking? They'll laugh us out of the station, and even if they believed me, Jacob will just disappear. These people don't leave paper trails. So what do we do?" I stared out the window at the dark city streets. "I don't know." We drove back to my apartment in silence. Once inside, I collapsed on the couch, my head in my hands. "I'm so screwed," I said. "I don't have $14,000. I don't have anything." Riley sat next to me thinking, "What about your 401k? Can you take a loan against it? Maybe a few thousand, but not enough. And the penalties would kill me. What about going back to the games? Trying to win the money?" I laughed bitterly. "I don't even know how to play poker. Not really. The other me might have been good at it, but I'm not him. I'd just lose whatever I put in." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "What if we asked him for help?" I looked at her. "Asked who?" "The other Marcus. Your other self." "Riley, he's not real. He's just me, blacked out on medication." "But he knew things you don't," she insisted. "He knew how to gamble. He knew how to navigate that world. What if we could? I don't know. I talked to him." "That's insane." "Is it? You said the medication put you in a parasomnic state where you could function but had no memory. What if you took it again, but this time you left yourself instructions, notes, a way to communicate?" I stared at her, my mind racing. That's incredibly dangerous." "So is owing $14,000 to a loan shark. She wasn't wrong, even if I wanted to try," I said slowly. "I don't have any Ambien left. I flushed it all. So get more. Tell your doctor you need it. Tell him the other medication isn't working. Riley, Marcus, listen to me." She grabbed my hands. "I've watched you tear yourself apart over this for months. You're exhausted. You're terrified. And now you're in debt to dangerous people because of something you don't even remember doing. Maybe it's time to stop fighting it and start using it." I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her it was too risky, too crazy, but I was out of options. The next morning, I called Dr. Patel's office and made an emergency appointment. "The trazodone isn't working," I told him. "I'm still not sleeping. I need something stronger." He was reluctant. He'd noted the side effects from the Ambien in my chart, but when I insisted, he finally agreed to prescribe it again. "Only take it if you absolutely need it," he warned. "And please, Marcus, if you experience any unusual behaviors, stop taking it immediately and call me." I picked up the prescription that afternoon. 10 pills. Zolpidem, 10 milligrams. That night, Riley and I prepared my apartment like we were setting up a science experiment. I wrote a note in large, clear letters and taped it to the wall next to my bed. Marcus, you are in a parasomnic state. You have no memory of this. Jakob Kresge, you owe him $14,000. You have 2 weeks to pay it. You need to win money at the poker game. Friday night, the warehouse, 9 p.m. Take cash from the desk drawer, $2,000. Do not leave this apartment for any other reason. When you're done, come back and go to sleep. I'd withdrawn $2,000 from my savings account, nearly everything I had left. It was my only shot. Riley had insisted on staying over. I'll watch the camera feed, she said. If you try to leave for any reason other than the game, I'll wake you up. How? I don't know. Shake you? Throw water on you? Whatever it takes. I looked at the pill in my hand, my heart pounding. What if this doesn't work? What if I just lose the money? Then we'll figure out plan B. What's plan B? I don't know yet. She tried to smile. But we'll figure it out together. I swallowed the pill at 10 p.m. Then I lay down in bed and waited. Riley sat at my desk, laptop open, watching the live feed from the security camera. I love you, I said suddenly. She looked over, surprised. What? I know we've only been seeing each other for a few months, and I know this is the craziest situation anyone's ever been in, but I love you. I needed to say that, just in case. Her eyes filled with tears. I love you too, Marcus. Now go to sleep. I closed my eyes. At 11:47 p.m., according to the timestamp, my body sat up. Riley watched, her heart in her throat, as Marcus stood and walked to the wall, reading the note. My face was blank, eyes glassy. But after a moment, he nodded slightly, as if understanding. He walked to the desk, opened the drawer, and took out the envelope of cash. He counted it carefully, $2,000. Then he got dressed jeans, a dark hoodie, shoes. He walked to the door, disarmed the alarm, and left. Riley immediately texted Jake. He just left, heading to the warehouse. Can you go there? Just to watch? Make sure he's okay? Jake responded a minute later. On my way. Riley sat in the silent apartment, staring at the empty bed, and prayed. XXIV. The game. Riley's perspective. Riley couldn't sit still. She paced the apartment, checking her phone every 30 seconds, waiting for updates from Jake. At 12:23 a.m., a text arrived. I'm at the warehouse. He's inside. Looks like there's a game going on. I'll stay out here and keep watch. Riley texted back. Thank you. Please don't let him leave with anyone else. Just the warehouse and back home. Got it. An hour passed. Then another. Riley watched the security feed, the empty apartment, the unmade bed. She felt like she was going insane. Finally, at 2:17 a.m., her phone buzzed. Jake. He's coming out. Alone. Looks like he's okay. Riley exhaled, relief flooding through her. She texted back, thank you so much. I owe you. At 2:31 a.m., the apartment door opened. Riley watched on the laptop screen as Marcus walked inside. He went directly to the desk, pulled out the envelope, it looked thicker now, and placed it in the drawer. Then he undressed, got back in bed, and lay still. Riley sat at the desk, her hands shaking, and waited for morning. I woke up at 8 a.m. to find Riley asleep in the chair next to my bed, her hand resting on my shoulder. Riley? I said groggily. She jerked awake, her eyes red and exhausted. Marcus, you're awake. How do you feel? Tired. What happened? Did it work? She pointed to the desk. Check the drawer. I got up, my whole body aching, and opened the drawer. The envelope was there, thick with bills. I pulled it out with trembling hands and counted. $16,400. I stared at it, disbelieving. He did it. I did it. I won. Riley laughed, a sound caught between relief and exhaustion. You did it. I sat down hard, the money clutched in my hands. How is this possible? I don't even know how to play poker. He does, Riley said softly. The other you, he knows. I looked at the note on the wall, still taped there, and felt a strange mixture of gratitude and fear. My other self had saved me, but he was still a stranger. Still someone I didn't understand. I need to pay Jakob, I said. Today, right now, before anything else happens. Riley nodded. I'll come with you. We drove back to Pier 19 that afternoon. Jakob's boat was still there, gleaming in the sunlight. This time, Jakob came up on deck when he saw us approaching. Marcus, he said, his expression neutral. You have something for me? I held up the envelope. $14,000. It's all here. He took it, counted it carefully, then nodded. This settles your debt. We're done. We're done? I repeated, needing to hear it again. Yes, you're clear. Don't come back. Relief crashed over me like a wave. Thank you. Jakob just nodded and went back below deck. Riley and I walked back to the car in silence. Once inside, she turned to me, tears streaming down her face. It's over, she said. It's really over. I pulled her close, holding her tight. It's over. But it wasn't over. Not completely. That night, after Riley had gone home, I sat at my desk, staring at the remaining pills in the Ambien bottle. 8 left. I should throw them away. I should flush them down the toilet and never look back, but I didn't. Instead, I took out a notebook and wrote, "Dear other Marcus, I don't know if you can read this. I don't know if you're aware, or if you're just a zombie version of me. Thank you, and I'm sorry. Marcus." I left the note on the desk and went to bed. I didn't take the Ambien. I fell asleep naturally, exhausted from the stress of the past few days. And in the morning, when I woke up, the note was gone. In its place, on the desk, was a single line written in handwriting that looked like mine, but wasn't quite, "You're welcome. Live well." I stared at it for a long time, my hands shaking. Then, I took the bottle of Ambien, walked to the bathroom, and flushed every last pill down the toilet. Riley and I got married in the spring. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Jake was my best man. I never took sleep medication again. The insomnia gradually improved with therapy, exercise, and time. Some nights are still hard, but I manage. I never went back to the warehouse, never saw Milo or Jakob or any of those people again. That world feels like it belongs to someone else now, because in a way, it does. Sometimes, late at night, I think about him, the other Marcus, the one who gambled and loved and lived without fear. I wonder if he's still in there somewhere, dormant, waiting. But mostly, I try to live the way he did, not recklessly, but fully, taking chances, saying yes, being present in my own life instead of sleepwalking through it. Riley says, "I'm different now than when we first met, more confident, more alive. You're like both versions combined," she told me once. The careful Marcus and the brave one. I liked that idea. That maybe I hadn't lost him. Maybe I'd just integrated him, made him part of myself instead of a stranger I feared. One night, a year after I'd flushed the last of the Ambien, I had a dream. I was sitting at a poker table, cards in my hand, chips stacked in front of me, and across from me, Saturday, me, the other Marcus. He looked exactly like me, but his eyes were sharper, more alive. He smiled. "You're doing good," he said. "Thank you," I said. "For everything, don't thank me." He pushed his chips toward me. "We were always the same person. You just needed to remember how to be whole." I woke up with tears on my face. Riley stirred beside me. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, and meant it. "I'm okay." She went back to sleep, and I lay there in the dark, feeling more at peace than I had in years. I was one person now, one Marcus, awake, aware, and whole. And I was finally, truly myself.